Enduring corruption, bankruptcy, and the auto bailouts, the city may not hold its former grandeur, but Motor City is remaking itself for the 21st century, with some help from Shinola, which built its factory in the heart of the city and has added hundreds of jobs to Detroit. Shinola is best known for watches now, but it was a shoe polish brand in the last century that went out of business. The brand name was revived 4 years ago by a company that hopes to recapture mid-century nostalgia and renew the city's sense of luxury. Shinola CEO Steve Bock joins us to discuss Detroit's revival and how he believes luxury goods could save the city. The Atlantic's Washington editor-at-large, Steve Clemons, is here to lead the conversation.
Friends in the back, and I just couldn't see very well, so either I had to get all of you to sit on the floor, or I'm bringing in bigger chairs. So to my friends back there, this is for you. How many of you are from Detroit or have a connection to Detroit? Great number of people. Let's hear it for Detroit. Steve Bock, how are you doing, Steve?
Very well, thank you.
I can tell you've got that thick Detroit accent going.
Absolutely. I've been developing this for many, many years. All the way from South Africa.
All the way from South Africa.
Exactly.
So let me just start with this function. I mean, you're a luxury watch maker. And if I may be blunt, the story of Detroit was once powerful, great city, right. The kingdom of automobile manufacturing, racing, thinking, designing in the world, but a city gone bad. And Detroit became, the stories in the media for years have been on industrial hollowing out, just the bleakness of opportunity, just sort of, a story just lost. Right. Why, of all places, would a company like Shinola pick Detroit to build as its base?
Exactly for that reason. You want to hear more?
Yeah.
So many people have written about what's happened to Detroit, and exactly the way you describe it is obviously very, very accurate. Ruin porn, homeless people. I think there's 70 to 80,000 buildings that are in terrible disrepair. But what that city offers and always has offered is a great opportunity, a great history, incredible heritage, a heritage steeped in manufacturing, creativity, building things. And what we love as a company is the idea when everybody runs to the right, we like to go to the left. And what Detroit offered was just an amazing opportunity for us to build this whole idea around jobs in the United States, bringing back the capacity of manufacturing to the United States, and there is no better city with a worldwide reputation. It's a brand unto itself, Detroit, and for us to associate Shinola with Detroit, we felt was an absolute winning formula.
You know, I have some odd hobbies, but one of them is collecting old tins, and I have an old Shinola tin, and people may not remember this, but Shinola was essentially
probably an old Shinola tin. Okay, got it.
But you know, it was boot polish. In fact, the old colloquialism used to be, you don't know shit from Shinola.
You got it.
Right?
And that's really dangerous for us, boy, because if somebody comes out and says, you guys, this isn't Shinola, this is shit, we're in deep trouble.
Yeah. So,
absolutely,
you know shit
right.
from Shinola. So I guess my question is to you, when you were sort of thinking about brands and building a brand in a place with leather makers and watch makers and bringing them together, why did you choose this brand?
Well, we're
or revive this brand, I should say.
I would say an enigmatic, somewhat irreverent company. I wasn't at the initial meeting. I was, I think, the third or fourth employee that joined the company about 4 years ago. But there was this little group of 3 or 4 people sitting around a table and throwing ideas around about what should the name of this company be. And somebody said something, and someone else said, you don't know shit from Shinola. Well, guess what? You cannot trademark the word shit, but you certainly could Shinola. And so, here we are. And it's proved to be very, very exciting, very, very successful. It's very early days. The company, as I said, is only 4 years old. And you're right, it was a shoe polish company that started, I think, in 1907. We've trademarked the name in a variety of different categories. And today what we produce, all under the same design concept and sensibility, from shoe polish to watches to bikes to leather goods to journals. We even have Shinola Cola, and there's much more coming.
Shinola Cola?
Shinola Cola, absolutely. Great taste.
I haven't tried that. I'm sure you're going to have to.
It's not too distant in your future, I promise
Well,
you.
we're going to try that out. But I wanted to ask you, when you think about your workers and the people. I mean, part of it, it's easy to sort of get lost in the fact that you're creating a luxury brand. I'm always interested in the people, the families, the people that work behind it. You know, the other day I had the privilege, really, of interviewing Roger Penske. Many people, I ask people, do you know who Roger Penske is? And it's just a remarkable, many people don't, but he's sort of a giant in auto racing, a giant there, but he's sort of Mr. Detroit. And he helped in many ways revitalize things like 911 calling and, you know, focus on the fact that many of the streetlights, in 2006, Roger told me only 25% of the streetlights in Detroit were working. So safety was a big issue, and really kind of bringing in all the stakeholders there. But how are the families and the people inside Detroit responding to this? Because they've sort of been through a lot of shock.
Yeah, it's been an amazing journey. It's a very, we have to always be very realistic and very real about it. It's been a very short journey for us. We've only been selling product for 2 of the 4 years. We opened a store in Detroit as an example of the type of reception we've had. And when I come from a long history of working in different stores and sort of pride myself in trying to understand how the business is going to flow. Shows you how much I know. We planned Detroit to do about 30% of our Tribeca store, and they opened basically within a week of each other. And the numbers, to cut a long story short, indicated that we should do about $180,000 in our Detroit store in the first 6 months of business, which happened to be the last 6 months of, I think it was 2013. Well, we did the $180,000 in the first 7 to 8 days. And in fact, did $3 million that year.
So who is buying them? Who can afford them in your Detroit store?
A lot of people are buying them. Last year, we sold about 15,000 watches out of that store. It was a huge, huge success. And it is, the customers are from every walk of life. Our products, Shinola, are not driven towards anybody in particular. It can be worn, and we would love to have, you know, every 18-year-old wearing them, all the way up to 80 and 90. It's man, woman. It doesn't matter where you are. Look at it. You know, your wrist is really.
I've been wondering if I should go for an Apple Watch or keep this.
Well,
how are you guys doing with Apple watches?
I'll tell you about Apple. By the way, you look wonderful today. That watch, it's just amazing. Really good looking. Apple, you know, how do you go from zero to the biggest watch company in the world? I guess you're Apple. And clearly they've done an amazing job. We ran some interesting ads, which is part of our irreverent approach always. We ran the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal a couple of weeks ago, where we said, well, you know, buy a Shinola because guess what? It's smart enough to tell you just the time. It recognizes that. And so, you know, we go out of our way to, in a very nice, friendly way to talk about it. They're going to be very successful, obviously. Is there anything that Apple does that is not successful? There isn't really. We hope that not everybody that buys an Apple Watch, we don't want them to buy a Shinola watch because we're not a mass watch. Little shot there. What we want to make sure is that people understand that this is a watch that is with you for your life. We put a lifetime warranty against all of our watches, which is more than anybody else does, Rolex, Apple, you name it, because obviously with Apple, you're going to have to buy a new watch every year to keep it updated.
Yeah.
I could go on.
I want to tell people that, you know, it's sort of designed that we don't have much opportunity because of the short time frames to take questions. But I do want to tell people, sometime in the media I believe in questions. If you want to text a zinger question that I will look at on, you know, with hashtag New York Ideas, I will ask this great South African. Do it
in about 6 minutes when I'm done.
We have 6 minutes, but so make it a good. In 140 spaces, you want to have a long question. So if you want to go ahead and do that, I'm happy to do that. But Steve, I wanted to also say that you and I were, I don't know what city we were in the Midwest of the United States. We were in Minneapolis together, and we talked about it. We were on a bus, or I was on a bus called the Rise of the Rest bus with Steve Case, the founder of AOL, and the work that he was doing was essentially to go out and find entrepreneurs and people that were startups and doing things and sort of, you know, violate this notion that the kind of high priesthood of startups were just New York, Boston, and Silicon Valley. And I know you have a sugar daddy at Shinola, so you don't genuinely count as a startup since Tom of Fossil started. But you do have a lot of insights into what a startup culture is. You're outside of that zone of Silicon Valley. New York, Boston.
Right.
Give us some insights on what do you think is important for other people out there as they think about, taking, their bootstraps and boot polish and
Absolutely.
doing something different.
Yeah, take your Shinola boot polish. There's no doubt that we're very lucky, we're very privileged to have a guy whose idea this is, who is incredibly supportive of this, and who is helping make sure it becomes a reality. But I would say the overreaching critical issue here is this idea of optimism. When we started and we opened this factory, we built a factory from scratch in the College for Creative Studies in Midtown Detroit, which is a wonderful art school and design school there. So we have a 60,000 square foot space, and we had never built a watch in the United States. And we have a partnership with a Swiss company that provides the component parts of the movement. So it's the heartbeat, obviously, of the watch. And those component parts come to us in kits, and there could be 50. I'm wearing, by the way, 2 watches, because I actually work for 2 companies. This is Shinola, and this is Filson, which is another wonderful company on the West Coast that we own. You need this on your other wrist.
Show me this one. Wow,
Look at
this
that.
is nice, nice.
You see?
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
Go to shinola.com or filson.com. Anyway, the idea was to get this off the ground, and without an incredible amount of optimism and belief that we could make it happen no matter what the obstacles in our way, it would not happen. And so if I can be humble enough and offer any advice to somebody who has a dream, just keep going and really go for it, and just use that power of optimism. It's critically important.
When it comes to the dollars and cents of actually building a company, and you look at American labor costs, because I mentioned there's a revival of manufacturing at some small noticeable level. Jim Fallows wrote about this in one of our comeback question mark in one of the Atlantic stories. But when you look at what has changed, really, because we spent a lot of time thinking about this, nothing has changed in the United States by government policy out of Washington, D.C., other than the cost of energy has plummeted. And the cost of energy is one of the biggest factors that's gone down.
Right.
Was it a factor for you? And if you were to say, okay, if the United States were to make this a more hospitable place for the kinds of things you're trying to do, what would those be?
Well, I have to say that what we found is that if you look hard enough, if you dig deep enough, if you're optimistic about this, you can find what you need. It doesn't apply everywhere, but 2 things have taken place, or 2 things that we've done that go against the whole idea of taking things out of the United States. We worked many years ago with a company out of Taiwan that makes dials. And we brought that, instead of taking a factory from the United States, from Detroit to the Far East, we went to Taiwan, worked with this gentleman, and he has brought his factory back into our Midtown Detroit store. So we brought a dial factory into Detroit. So you can do that. And then we decided that there's a wonderful business out there. It's a pretty small business. It's the journal business. And most people believe that you cannot make journals in the United States and that you have to go to the Far East because of the cost differential. Well, guess what? We can make a better quality product in journals, a Shinola quality product in journals here in the United States, in Ann Arbor, at the same price as you can import it. Better quality, same retails. It can be done. Not in every case, obviously, but it can be done.
I like that you like happy socks. So do I. I like happy,
I'm telling you, you and I should travel together.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, I'm interested whether you see a future in happy socks. I mean, I know there's a company out there that I think
sure
we've been talking about happy socks and the brand of it. But what has been your biggest sort of, I would say, F up, but screw up?
That's a mixed audience.
We're talking about shit and other things.
Right.
So
let's
go all the way.
Yeah, go all the way. We really have not. We've been incredibly lucky. We are constantly. We've been around for a long time. Many of us, including me, have been around in business for decades. Certainly, Tom has been doing this for many, many years, decades as well. And we're always looking to see where those clouds are coming from. But thus far, every door we've opened has been fantastic. And all of them have really been supported by that city of Detroit and the state. It's just been amazing the kind of reception we've received there.
Is it a good, just as we wrap up, is it a good, some people refer to this on Twitter, but is it a good thing to be so associated with Detroit and its revitalization? Does that become an old story, a tired story at some point? Is that something you've enjoyed, kind of carrying that mantle with you?
Yeah, we
or do
love
you just
it.
want to be known as the really cool luxury watchmaker that's kicking Apple's tail?
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Just the tip of it. that little hair at the end there, or that tail. No. Detroit is incredibly important. When we build our products, all of our products, whether they're bikes, shoe polish, journals, watches, are on great design, so that always covers every product we do. The idea of great quality, wonderful value in our products, because we don't have we don't have Hollywood celebrities supporting us, etc., etc.
So you're going to ban Hollywood celebrities for life?
Not at all. We love them, but we don't use them and have them endorse our products. There's no sports people endorsing our product. We only celebrate the people that make the products, or the products, or the raw materials that we use. And it is all covered by Detroit. Detroit is an incredibly important part of the formula for success for us.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Bock of Shinola. Thank you so much, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you.